Since then, the Wayne County Party, I mean, you've heard of the Free State Project? Well, we have a Free County Project going on in Wayne County. Susan was elected judge with major opposition from the state police, and now once she runs for election, the other parties don't even put up anybody against her. Rex has run multiple times for state rep. He's done a phenomenal job. In a three-way race, he got 28%, something like that. 21% in a two-way race. He did even better. And now he's moving up and running for Congress, and I'm sure he'll do a phenomenal job. As many of you heard who were at dinner last night, and many of you knew anyway, in 2010, Rex won the Thomas Paine Award from the National Party as Communicator of the Year. And now he's going to communicate some of his thoughts to us. And he's an established author. His book about Stinky Wilmot and the adventures of the book Stinky Shorts regale me from time to time in my office when I'm depressed and thinking about things other than selling insurance. Rex, come up and give us the words of wisdom of Rex Bell. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I probably won't cry while I'm up here. Normally, when I'm speaking, by the end of the speech, it's the audience that becomes teary. Basically, I'm going to talk about a little bit about why I do what I do. First of all, I'd like to thank whoever it was that came up with the idea of having me speak up here. And I would also like to thank everybody who didn't let that deter them from showing up anyway. Like I say, I'm going to talk about what brought me to this point, why I write some of the things that I do write, and how I got started. I was raised in Indiana with 3 brothers and 4 sisters on a farm down between Millville and Moreland, over in Henry County. We didn't have a lot of money or a lot of room when I was growing up. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, we slept 4 in a bed. That was until my older brother got married, and then we slept 5 in a bed. It wasn't, the farm I was raised on, it wasn't the best farm in the county, but it wasn't the worst either. We did have one field that actually had some good black bottom dirt in it. One of my duties as a child was before a rain, I had to go out and put that dirt in a 5-gallon bucket and carry it in on the back porch so that it wouldn't wash away. You know, a lot of people think that libertarians aren't concerned about the earth, but I can testify that my dad was one of the pioneers in soil conservation. One of the benefits, or at least I consider the benefit, of growing up in that time and in a rural area was I attended a small school. It was Millville Grade School. It wasn't big. I don't know how it would compare with a lot of the larger city schools at that time. I didn't have anything to compare it to. But we did learn there. I learned to read and write, made a lot of lifelong friends, and I had a lot of good times. As a matter of fact, I've often said that the 4th grade at Millville was the happiest 3 years of my life. One of those years when I was in the 4th grade, Mrs. Manning gave us an assignment, which was to write a poem that we had to read in front of the class. I wrote one about school and the troubles we often have while attending school. And then my love interest at the time was a certain Miss Davis. She wrote one about books, and then we had to read them in front of the class, and Mrs. Manning chose our 2 poems to submit to the Hagerstown Exponent. It was a small paper published once a week. It was full of Hagerstown news, and every once in a while there would be some Millville news. That was the first time I'd ever had anything published. I don't know as it had changed anybody's opinion about attending school. I don't know if it was ever reviewed by anybody, but I do remember that I enjoyed writing it, and I enjoyed seeing it in print. I didn't have a lot published after that. I kind of peaked early there. You know? When I was a junior in high school, I started writing a little bit again, and I wrote a scathing letter to the Paul Print, which was the Hagerstown school paper, concerning something that the student government president had said about school policy. And I kind of blasted him in that. And after it was published, it earned me a summons to the principal's office and a very stern and threatening lecture after I got there. Now, that lecture didn't change my opinion on what I felt, but it did give me pause to wonder if maybe there was a better way, a kinder, gentler way to get my point across. I just wrote sporadically after that. I guess I didn't have anything to say too much until in the year 2000 I ran across Harry Brown on C-SPAN explaining libertarianism and the Libertarian Party. And I thought to myself, hey, this is really neat stuff, you know, and people need to know this stuff. And I'm probably the one that could help tell people this stuff. But when I started writing again, I always kept in the back of my mind that trip to Mr. Power's office, you know. And so that always influenced my writing. Last year, I put together a book concerning life and libertarianism and growing up with Stinky Wilmot at Millville. Since it's a book about short stories about Stinky, you know, I thought maybe the title, it would be a good idea to call it Stinky Shorts. Now, I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but that's what I named it. It's full of opinions, and I don't think it's any secret that when we have an opinion, we want other people to share our opinions. Especially if we're libertarians, we want to share other people to share our opinions. And we spend a lot of time trying to convince people that our opinions are correct. Since Stinky Shorts is full of political opinions, naturally, I'm hoping that people that read the book will be swayed in their political opinions. I don't know if I will sway their opinions. I'll try to. One thing I do hope, when they read the story, I hope I can present it in such a way at least they won't be upset and give me a stern and threatening lecture. I'm not sure that that's everybody's opinion, but I do hope that if they can read my opinions and not be upset, even if they're not swayed at this time, maybe they'll read something that I write later and perhaps that will sway their opinion. So I think it's important to keep that line of communication open, even with people that disagree with it. I'm not sure that that is every author's intention. There is a conservative radio host named Glenn Beck. You've probably heard of him. He wrote a book arguing with idiots. And I'm not sure if you're trying to convert somebody over to your way of thinking that calling them idiots and then proceeding to argue with them is the best way. Michael Moore, a liberal author and filmmaker, he wrote a book called Stupid White Men. Al Franken, who was I think an entertainer and eventually a congressman of some sort, he wrote a book entitled Rush Limbaugh's a Big Fat Idiot. Now, you know, I won't go there as to what Rush Limbaugh is or isn't, but I'm not sure that's a good way to invite people to your way of thinking. And I don't doubt for a minute that these authors have gained more notoriety on the bestseller list than I have. But I also believe that most of the people that buy their books and read their books agreed with them up front. In the political arena, there's not a lot of libertarians out there because we're fairly new. There's not near enough of us out there anyway. So my hope is not to just connect with people that already agree with me. That's not to say that I don't hope that libertarians that agree with most of what I say won't enjoy the book, but that's not my main motivation for writing it. I don't believe that winning an argument is the best way to convert somebody to your cause. And I don't think it's a good, call them an idiot, or winning an argument is a good way to do that. My intention in writing the book is to get other people to consider my point of view on politics and what I consider the benefits of limited government. If they don't agree with me, I hope it at least doesn't make them mad. I've got just a short clip from my book here. It's called "We Just Can't Take It," that I'd like to share with you, if I can find it. There it is. This is a story I wrote about some 50 years ago. And it starts out 50 some odd years ago. My mother brought a couple of boxes of cereal home from Becker Brothers grocery store in Newcastle. I can't for the life of me remember what type or brand of cereal it was, but I vividly remember the prize that was in each box. It was an authentic Rin Tin Tin ballpoint pen, shaped like a genuine repeating rifle that was used by Rennie's Cavalry Troop and Corporal Carson. My older brother and I nearly foundered on that cereal trying to eat our way to those ink pens, and our diligence finally paid off. In a matter of days, we were each the proud owner of one of the pens. My brother put his pen in his desk, but I was anxious to show my good fortune off to my pals at Millville Grade School. And, as often was the case so many times in those days, my brother still had his ink pen while mine was missing, either out on the playground or behind one of the registers in Mrs. Dilling's room, or under one of the seats on Howard Tucker's bus, or in that no-count Stinky Wilmot's lunch bucket. Regardless of where the pen was, it was a devastating loss, one from which I thought I might not recover. Through my grief, however, I was able to devise a plan that would alleviate my sorrow. I surmised that if my brother gave me his pen, which he hardly ever used anyway, then he could have the pen out of the next box of cereal. He, of course, would have none of that plan, so I decided to plead my case to my mom and dad and all of my younger siblings. Now, promises of future favors gained the support of a couple of the younger ones, but I hit a brick wall with my parents. They informed me that the pen belonged to my brother, and no matter how much I wanted it, he was under no obligation to surrender it to me. If I could convince him to give it to me, or trade for something I owned, or if we could agree on a selling price that I could afford, then I had a shot at getting the pen. Otherwise, I was out of luck. Although I didn't realize it at the time, it was one of my first lessons in libertarianism. Most of us learn that lesson early in life, that no matter how bad you want something, you don't have the right to just take it. Not even if you want it really bad, not even if someone else has taken something from you. And most people accept that in their personal lives. We seem to take a different attitude, however, when the government gets involved. People seem to believe that if they want a park or a hiking trail bad enough, it's all right to authorize the government to take money from a person and build one. They've somehow developed the attitude that if they want a business to locate in their county or state, it's all right for the government to take someone's money and give it to a business. People that wouldn't even consider taking something from their neighbors don't seem to raise too much opposition when the sheriff takes a person's house so the county can auction it off in a tax sale. The problem is we can't give anything away that we don't have. And since we don't have the right to take someone's property just because we want it, how can we believe that we have the right to appoint the government to do it for us? At least that's my take on it. I would hope as soon as I get to my page, I would hope that readers would agree with that way of thinking, or they would at least consider it. And if they can't find it in their heart to do either, I hope at least me stating that opinion doesn't make them mad, and on a broader scope, maybe convince someone that we can state our opinions and listen to and consider other opinions without getting so doggone upset. I think that's something that's sorely missing in the world of politics today. I also hope that as libertarians, we never back down from our principles when making our case. And I know that as libertarians, we tend to have little patience for people that just don't get it. But our message is too important not to put our best foot forward when we're communicating that message. And we need to do whatever it takes to get people to listen, even if that means talking nice to big fat idiots. Thanks for listening, and that's all I have to say about that.